All right, we're back again, and I'm actually starting on SISTA number 3. So I have lined up, I'm going to adjust it then, lined up SISTA number 1, which is this one, my thick chica here, and SISTA number 2 at the point where I separated them, which is working out really strangely. Okay, but anyway, this is where they're going to be rejoined, right at this part, and that's going to help me determine the proportions for SISTA number 3. Which is going to go, who is going to go right about here and out at this angle. So I had already removed what used to be a slab of clay. This was the top slab, so it was rounded off because of the way it was packaged during shipping, or the way it was packaged for shipping. So I'm just pounding the clay, compacting it, making sure everything's well mixed together. For the life of me, I cannot remember what this process is called. There's a word for it. I know the lady whose studio I was using before she moved back to Paris, she described this front portion as making duck lips, because you're basically pressing inward and then down, and it creates that little weird section there that sort of looks like, I guess, a duck's beak or bill. And I guess this is just conditioning the clay, mixing up all of the particles. Some of it's sticking to the table right now because I usually do this on a cutting board and there's not that much sticking, but I'm not worried about those little pieces that are coming off. I can add those back in. I'll just use this tool to scrape it off the table. Put those right back onto here and continue this process. Oh, okay, this is frustrating me because it's coming off on the table too much and it's getting on my nerves. So I'm going to transfer this to the cutting board, which you'll see in a second because it's right beside me. And I'll just do it on here, and hopefully it'll stick less. It may stick just as much. I don't know. We'll see. Nope, not sticking just as much. Pushing in and down, pushing in and down, just mixing all the clay particles. And that's supposed to help compress out any air pockets. And I guess for some types of clay, there are different tints of color on certain areas. And this process, I understand from YouTube University, helps you to mix those clays together, those different hues and tints, so that you're working with one color as opposed to a color that might end up looking marbleized or, I don't know, have highlights and streaks. And I guess if that's not what you're going for, that can be a problem. I personally wouldn't care. I'd like to see how it turns out. So I'm not doing it to try to unite any colors. I'm doing it just to press out air pockets and make sure I've got a nice compact ball of clay. Now, because this is going to end up being another torso, I'm just taking and hand rolling it out. I have a large seam there that I need to get rid of. This is not a good surface that I'm working on. It's too unstable, too jiggly, but I'm just going to continue to do the best I can. You see there's a huge seam line there, but I'm not too concerned about that. I'm going to move that cutting board back out of the way. And I'm actually more so using this piece for measurement at this point, because I know the position she's going to be in is probably going to, I'm hoping will give her the appearance of being slightly more youthful than her two sisters. Definitely more skinny than either one of them. Because as you can see, she's thick. This one has a lot going on in the back. And this one I just want to sort of look like a slender teenager. So if you can imagine, turn to the side, this is going to be shoulders coming out from here. This is a neck. A head is going to go atop that. And of course her fro that'll connect her to her sisters. And she is going to have really, really bad posture, as we often do when we're young, because who cares about all of that? You sit how you sit. It's comfortable. I'm grabbing a piece that I'm going to join this onto, because that's going to be her butt. So I'm going to put that down. Use the serrated edge tool. Scrape some texture out onto here so I can join these pieces. I'm going to lift the bowl that's covering the slip and apply some with the back of one of my spoon-shaped tools. I'm applying it generously in the center because by the time I finish maneuvering all that's going to pretty much seep out, and that's what I want. Now this is a little too much going on, so I'm just going to cut off that very end using the straight edge of the same serrated edge tool. I'll show you in a second what I just did. And there, that gives me that pretty nice clean cut, serrating that edge, and that's going to be joined to this. I'm going to put it right about in the middle because I'm going to build up a good amount of clay on this area. So I'm pushing down. You see all of the slip. Now, normally you'd watch me take a tool and just start joining these two pieces. That can stand on its own for right now. But what I'm going to do instead is fortify this with another piece of clay that I'm going to roll into into a tube. And that's going to go around the base and this piece that connects the two. And then I'll start building up from there. I'm not worrying about serrating all around here because this slip is going to be carried up into it. And it's going to be pressed together pretty in a very sturdy fashion, so that's not a concern. So I'm rolling this into a tube shape, hopefully making enough to go all the way around. If not, no problem. I can always add more. And I'm going to take and press and flatten that out because it doesn't need to be round, but it does need to have a little bit of thickness left. So I'm leaving about that much thickness. And I lied to you. I'm going to serrate this and add some slip because, I don't know, slip just makes me feel better. I just feel like that connection's going to be better. So I'll add it. I'm not adding a lot. I mean, it's still a generous application, but I'm not covering it. I'm not going out to each edge. I'm just putting on a layer, and I'll show that to you in just a second. So that's the layer that I put on. So now I'm taking pressing this firmly in and against this piece and that. There's a little excess. Not concerned about that at all. I'm going to use this smaller tool with the spoon-like concave to press up and in and blend this up into this piece. I'm pressing in and going up. In and going up. And I'm going to do that all the way around. And don't worry about the fact that this is flopping all over the place. It does not need to stand up on its own right now. I'm just trying to get a semblance of this form and how I'm going to be working with it. So this is going to be her butt. This is going to be her teenage crazy posture, neck and shoulders. Her head is going to be leaned back. And she is going to have her legs up like that, close together with her hands around her knees. So I'm thinking the best way to do that is to go ahead and use this huge lump of clay and make her legs. So I've got to get the board again. This is another piece that I'm just going to be conditioning right now. I'm going to move this over so I'll have more room. I'll rest that right up against there. I think that's enough room for me. It's a small space to work in, but that's fine. I don't want to do that because I'm afraid that this vibration is either going to affect her, who is drier and more prone to crumbling, or 3 sisters in 1 fro that's up here drying. So I have to do this part off camera, and I'll just edit it out since it means nothing to you because you can't see it anyway. All right, I might be back into camera focus. Wow, that didn't hold that at all. So I'm gonna have to spray that. It's drying out on the outside, so that's why it's cracking and making that whole area. That's not a problem at this point. It's not even necessary for me to do that. Just a personal thing. I don't like looking at that. very quickly and sloppily joining these two pieces together, because a large majority of this is going to end up hollowed out anyway. I just do want to make sure that the connection between these two pieces is solid and strong, and I'm doing that by forcing with pressure the slip to spread out and come outside the seams of where this is joined, so that I know I have a nice solid connection. And a lot more clay is going to be added to this. A lot. I'm going to lean that up against here for now. Prop the water bottle so I can hold that into position, because I need more clay and I've got to grab that out of the bag. So once I start to get to this halfway point on the pounds of clay that I purchased, because it was probably about this tall, that's when I start to get nervous, and I know that I want to get more in here, just because you don't ever want to go without. I don't ever want to go without, and there's nothing worse than a weekend and you don't have enough clay, because of course that's when all the ideas in the world and concepts are going to pop into your head, and now you can't do anything about it because you didn't plan ahead. So I'm going to rip off a chunk of this. Scrape this area of the table where I want to condition a little bit, because again, I keep a messy workspace and I spot clean. I don't know how others do, but I get through the best way I can. Using the same serrated edge tool, I'm just going to slice into the ends because I want a pretty clean cut for these. Narrow this down a little bit more, just with some palm rolling. Being messy as all get out, because it doesn't matter all that much. I'm going to add a little more on this side too, which, as you know, it's not what I normally do, but for this one, I want to be sure of that hold. I know, Terry, those pieces don't align. No, they don't. It's cool though, because I'm pushing up while I'm pushing down on this one. And remember, there's a lot of slip in there, so it's still being joined, just differently from how you normally see me do it. I'm getting around the back, make sure all of that's good. Some of it's coming off on my hands. That's not a problem. I do need to turn it around a little. I don't want to cut it off too short. It's better to have it longer and have to take away from it than to cut it too short and having to keep making joint connections. That's what I feel about it, because I'm never 1000% confident in the joining of pieces, even though I do what I think I'm supposed to do with the slip and with how I join. It's still always just in the back of my mind, did I do enough? So I try to keep those opportunities to have to worry down to a minimum. Now I'm going to show this to you. I don't know if you'll see what I see, but that's going to be her position. Now, of course, this is so completely misshapen that it might not make sense to you right now, but I think that it will once the real sculpting happens. Right now, I'm using clay as an armature. I did not make an armature out of wire to put clay around, because I would have been actually much further along probably, because I'd be showing you what the form was going to look like at this point, and it would be much more evident. But I do different things at different ways for, I don't know, different reasons, whatever's going on in my head at the moment. So that's how I chose to do this, for whatever reasons. But again, this is the arch of her spine, butt, bent leg, and eventually this will be a foot. excuse me. Her shoulders are going to be right here, and her arms are going to come down, loosely bent, gripping both of her legs together. Now from the front, there's not nearly enough mass for that to happen. But again, I'm going to be adding clay, so there will be. So that's the least of my worries right now. Right now, my concern is making sure this particular joined area that is comprised of 2 different sizes of clay tubes, that it's nice and feels solid right in that area. So I'm manipulating clay up, I'm manipulating clay down, all in an effort for this to feel like one solid chunk of clay to me. And it's starting to get there, so I feel like I'm on the right path. Again, could be on the very wrong path, and if I am, make no doubts about it, the kiln will let you know. That's right in that area, and I can feel a little give right there. I feel it. So I'm going to press that clay that I just took out right into that area to refortify it. And that's all you do, is you judge what you feel, what your hands are telling you, just as much as what your eyes are showing you, for me. And once again, so much of this is going to be hollowed out, and I answered that question in an earlier video about, well, why do it this way if you're going to remove most of the clay that you're working with and manipulating now. And again, for me, it's because this clay is serving as an armature, because it's able to stand up on its own without a wire support, because there's this thickness of clay. And hollowing is very calming for me. It's a process that I thoroughly enjoy, so it's not a bother at all to do it this way. And that's where we're stopping with SISTA number 3, the final SISTA in this sculpture. And tomorrow, I'm actually going to be at the studio until probably about 10 p.m. glazing the pieces that successfully came out of the kiln last week. Yay me. And I have to work Saturday, which means I have to get up early. I'm not a morning person. And I've got to be out to the park at 8 a.m. like a regular work day, and I'm pissed off about it. But it's what it is. And I'm probably going to end up going to the studio again tomorrow if there's time after I do this event. And we'll see if I have the energy to come home and sculpt some more. I doubt that I will, because I'm an introvert and my social battery will be at -50. But the good news is I am off Monday, so Sunday and Monday are mine. And the case scenario is that I will probably see you again on Sunday. I really appreciate you sticking with me on this journey of sculpting the second installment of 3 Sisters, 1 Fro. I'm going to get the girls all bagged up and put away for the night so they can get their rest. I can get my rest. You can get your rest. Peace.